20 below zero out on the northern plains, with wind coming across open snow and nothing to slow it down. I was sleeping in a canvas lodge with 3 other men and a fire the size of a dinner plate. I slept in my shirt sleeves and woke up warm. Down the road, a young fellow in a brand new mountain tent that cost more than my first truck spent that night rubbing his feet together to keep the feeling in them. On paper, that young man had every advantage, right down to a sleeping bag rated colder than the night we got. But he fought the cold from dark until daylight, and our lodge was not fighting at all. Our people worked on staying alive outdoors on this continent for 10,000 years, and they solved it 4 different ways, depending on what the land gave them. Brush and poles in the desert, bark and bent saplings in the eastern woods, hide and lodgepole on the open grass, timber and earth on the river bluffs. Today I am building all 4 of them for you and telling you why each one works. And stay to the end, because there is one mistake that will freeze a man inside a shelter that is otherwise perfect, and it has nothing to do with the walls or the fire. It is what you are lying on, and I will show you what the old ones put down there and how deep. I am Wes Kingfisher. I am 64 years old, of Cherokee heritage, and I was raised by my grandmother Ada in the hills of eastern Oklahoma, where I still live today. She taught me the plants and the kitchen, and my grandfather and my uncles taught me the woods, the fire, the water, and the shelter. 40 years on the powwow trail and at the intertribal gatherings taught me the rest, from the northern plains to the desert southwest, learned by hand from elders who let me do the work instead of watch it. The old ones never wrote any of this down, so listen close. So how does a pile of sticks and grass beat a $400 tent from the sporting goods store? Start with what actually kills a person outdoors, because it is almost never the number on the thermometer. It is wind stripping the warm air off your skin. It is water soaking into your clothes. And it is the ground underneath you pulling heat out of your body all night while you sleep. Wind, water, and ground. Those are the 3 thieves. A nylon tent stops the wind and sheds the rain. And that is the whole of what it does. It has no mass to it. It holds no heat of its own, and you cannot build a fire in it. Once the sun goes down, the inside of it is the same temperature as the outside. Every shelter I am about to show you does something that tent cannot do. It traps heat, or it makes heat, or it borrows heat straight out of the ground. And all 4 can be built from what is already growing where you stand for nothing but your own labor. Keep that 3rd thief in the back of your mind, the ground, because that is where we are headed at the end. Now, every one of these 4 shelters has its own page in a book I put together called The Native American Way, 101 Remedies, Skills, and Recipes that kept my people alive for 10,000 years. That book is everything my grandmother Ada handed me in her kitchen, and everything the elders handed me around 1,000 fires out on the circuit, written down plain and step by step. The backyard plants and how the old ones used them, the teas and the salves, the wild foods and the month to gather them, fire and water and shelter like we are doing today, and the recipes that fed the people through every hard winter. It is $17 right now, marked down from $47. $17 for knowledge that took 10,000 years to test. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right. The first shelter, and the fastest one you will ever build, out in the desert Southwest and across the Great Basin, in Apache country and Paiute and Shoshone country, our people built what most folks call a wickiup. Two men who know what they are doing can put one up between lunch and dark. You start with 8 to a dozen slender poles, about as thick as your wrist and 10 or 12 feet long. Willow, cottonwood, juniper, whatever that country gives you. Scratch a circle on the ground about 8 feet across. Set the butt of each pole into the ground around that circle a good hand deep. Then bring the tops together and lash them into a cone, or bend them over into a dome. The part folks leave out is the part that makes it work. You lash thin, flexible branches horizontally around the outside of that frame, like the hoops on a barrel, starting near the ground and working up. Those hoops are what the thatch grabs onto. Without them, your grass slides off in the first good wind. Then you thatch it. Bare grass, sage, brush, cattail, pine boughs, dry leaves, anything with body to it. Start at the bottom and work up. Every layer overlaps the one below it, like shingles on a roof, so water runs down the outside instead of finding its way in. On the side the wind comes from, 2 feet of thatch is not too much. Leave one low door, small enough that a man has to duck, on the side away from the weather. Now, the reason a grass house is warm has nothing to do with the grass. It is the air trapped inside it. Every hollow stem and every gap between the stems is a pocket of still air the cold has to fight its way through. That is the same thing a modern sleeping bag does with feathers, and our people were doing it with bare grass long before anybody built a factory. One word about the cutting. Take your poles out of a crowded thicket where the young trees are choking each other and take one here and one there. Never clear a patch. You leave that place able to grow you another shelter in 10 years. Now move east into the hardwood country, up around the Great Lakes and down through the oak and hickory, and the shelter changes shape because the material changes. Out there, you have saplings that bend without breaking, and you have bark. The wigwam is a dome. Mark a circle 10 to 12 feet across. Cut green saplings about as thick as your thumb and 10 to 14 feet long. Willow, maple, and hickory all bend well. Drive each one into the ground about a foot deep, spaced 2 feet apart all the way around. Then bend a sapling over to meet its partner on the other side and lash them together at the crown. Do that all the way around, and you have a frame you can hang your weight on. Then the hoops again. From the ground on up, same as the wickiup. For the cover, you have 2 choices, bark or mats. Bark comes off a tree in one clean sheet only in spring and early summer while the sap is running. And that is a hard rule of the woods. Elm, birch, and ash all peel. You cut your sheets, press them flat until they dry, and shingle them on from the bottom up. Or you use cattail mats, which is what I like, because one cattail marsh will hand you a whole house for free. Gather the long leaves in late summer, dry them, and sew them side by side into mats. A cattail leaf is full of air cells, so the mat insulates by itself. And when the rain hits it, those leaves swell and press tight against each other, so a cattail mat sheds water better wet than it does dry. Lay poles over the outside and lash them down so a wind cannot peel the cover off. Leave a smoke hole at the peak with a movable bark flap. You can push around with a long stick from inside. Low door, hide flap, turned away from the weather. And inside, along the wall, you build a sleeping bench about a foot up off the floor. Hold on to that bench, because we are coming back to it at the end, and it matters more than the roof does. In these hills where I live, my own people built with cane and clay, and for the hardest nights we had a little winter house called an AC, which just means the hot house. Dug down a foot, banked with earth, one low door and one small fire. A grown man had to crawl in, and in January you could not keep your shirt on in there. Now out onto the open grass, where there is next to no timber, and the wind never quits. Our people out on the plains built the finest portable shelter anybody on this earth has ever built, and I do not say that lightly. A family could take it down, load it, move 40 miles, and have it standing again, with supper cooking before dark. Look at a teepee, and your eye tells you it is a cone. It is not. Look at a real one from the side, and the back wall stands steep while the front leans out. That tilt does 3 jobs at once. The steep back faces the prevailing wind and sheds it. The tilt carries the smoke hole forward off-center, so the smoke has a clear road out above the fire, and the door faces east away from the weather and into the morning sun. The frame starts with 3 poles, or 4, depending on which nation you learn from. Lay them out and tie them together near the top. Raise that tripod. Then lay the rest of your poles into the crotch where the first ones cross, one at a time, working around. Then wrap the rope around that crossing 4 or 5 times to lock it in. The cover is a half circle of hide, or canvas nowadays. You tie it to a lift pole, raise it at the back, then walk the 2 edges around to the front and pin them up the seam with wooden lacing pins. Peg the bottom edge down all the way around, and run 1 rope from the pole crossing down to a stake driven into the middle of the floor. That anchor rope is why a teepee stands in a wind that flattens tents. The 2 flaps at the top are the smoke flaps, and each one has its own pole standing outside the lodge. When the wind shifts, you walk outside and move the pole. You do not open the door. You move the pole. And this next piece is the one almost nobody knows about. It is the reason I slept in my shirt sleeves at 20 below. Inside a winter lodge, there is a second wall. It is a band of hide or canvas hung from the poles about 5 or 6 feet up, running all the way around the inside, tucked in and weighted down at the floor. Out on the circuit, we call that a liner or a dew cloth. Watch what it does. Cold air comes in under the outside cover at ground level, the way it always will. The liner catches that air and turns it upward, so it runs up the wall between the liner and the cover and straight out the smoke hole. It feeds the fire without ever crossing the floor where the people are lying. The liner does a second job too. On a cold night, the moisture off your breath and your fire condenses on the inside of that outer cover and runs down it. With no liner, it drips on your bed. With a liner, it runs down between the 2 walls and out the bottom, outside your bedding. Dry bed, warm man. In deep winter, you stuff dry grass into that space between the liner and the cover, and you bank snow up against the outside of the lodge. Now you have a wall with an insulated cavity inside it, the same idea house builders in this country finally landed on generations later. I will say one thing plain. There is meaning in a lodge in how it is set and who sets it. and that part belongs to the people it belongs to. It is not mine to broadcast. What I can teach you is how it stands and how it keeps you alive, because that was taught to me by hand, out there in the cold. Now up onto the river bluffs of the upper Missouri, where our people in the Mandan and Hidatsa and Arikara villages built a shelter you could hand down to your children. An earth lodge starts with digging. You take the floor down a foot or two in a circle that can run 30 or 40 feet across. You set 4 heavy posts in the middle and lay beams across their forks. You set a ring of shorter posts around the outside with another beam on top, then run rafters from that outer ring up to the center beams and leave a hole in the middle for the smoke. Then the roof, and the roof goes on in layers. Willow branches laid tight across the rafters, a thick blanket of prairie grass over the willow, and then the sod cut out of the floor, laid over the grass and packed down until the whole lodge looks like a grass hill with smoke coming out of the top. Those roofs carried weight, and whole families sat up there on a summer evening and watched the river. The door is a little tunnel, 5 or 6 feet of covered passage with a hide hung at each end. That tunnel has a job. The wind never gets a straight run at the inside of the lodge, because there are 2 doors and a dog leg between them, the same idea as the double doors on the front of a bank. Now here is where an earth lodge beats every tent ever sewn. Go down 3 or 4 feet into the ground almost anywhere in this country, and the dirt sits right around 50 degrees all year. 50 degrees in January, 50 degrees in July, and it does not care what the air above it is doing. So a lodge dug into that ground and buried under a foot of packed sod does not start its night at 10 above zero. It starts at about 50, and one small fire carries it the rest of the way. The cost is labor. An earth lodge takes weeks, and it takes help. But it stands for years. It holds a whole family. And the blizzard that would kill a man in a tent is nothing but noise on the roof. You can build a small one alone, dig into a south-facing slope, roof it with poles and brush and a foot of dirt, and you have a one-man version of the same idea. Now, the thing I promised you at the start, 4 shelters, 4 pieces of country, built by different nations out of whatever the land had, and every one of them shares something that has nothing to do with the walls. The brush house had a grass bed. The wigwam had that sleeping bench a foot off the floor. The lodge on the plains had a mat of willow rods and buffalo robes on a low platform. The earth lodge had beds built up off the dirt with hide curtains around them, every one. Because this is what kills a man inside a perfectly good shelter. Air is a poor carrier of heat. It only takes what touches your skin, and still air gives up quick. The ground is a different animal. It is pressed against half your body for 8 hours straight, and it conducts. It will take your heat as fast as your body can make it, and it never fills up. You will warm a man-shaped hollow into frozen dirt all night, and that dirt will still be asking for more at sunrise. You can prove this to yourself tonight. Lay your bare hand flat on a cold concrete floor for 1 full minute. Then hold that same hand in the air an inch above the floor. Same temperature, both of them. Your hand will tell you they are nothing alike. So the rule the old ones lived by was this: as much under you as over you. And this is the number to hold on to. You pile your bedding as deep as your knee deep, loose and fluffy, before you ever lie down on it. Because the moment your weight comes down, it packs to about 4 inches. 4 inches is what you need under you. not 1 inch and not 2. I have watched grown men build a beautiful shelter and then lie down on a handful of pine needles, and they shiver until daylight and blame the shelter. Cut your boughs about as long as your arm. Fir, spruce, cedar, or pine. Lay the first row where your feet will go. Cut ends down and tips up. Lay the next row overlapping the first, like shingles again, working toward the head. Keep going until the whole bed is covered. Then lay a second layer, crossways over the first. Take your time with this. It is the most important half hour of the whole build. If there is no evergreen where you are, dry leaves will do it, and dry grass, and cattail down, and the bark off a dead cedar rub soft. The word that matters is dry. Wet bedding does not insulate you. It conducts, and it will pull heat out of you faster than bare ground would. And put your bed on the high side of the floor if the floor is not level, because cold air runs downhill and settles in the low spot. That is the whole of it. 4 shelters, 4 kinds of country, 1 floor, and that is the kind of thing my grandmother handed me for nothing, because somebody handed it to her first. There are 101 of them in the Native American way, written out plain so they do not die with me. $17 right now, down from $47. One warm night instead of a cold one is worth more than that, and there are 100 more waiting in the book. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. 4 shelters, brush in the desert, bark in the woods, hide out on the grass, earth up on the bluff, and 4 inches of dry bedding under every one of them. Now tell me something in the comments. Tell me where your people are from. And if there is native blood somewhere in your family line, the way there is in so many American families, I would be honored to hear the story. I read every single one. Next time I'm going to show you how our people made fire in a steady rain with wet wood all around, and the one part of a dead standing tree that stays bone dry no matter how long it rains. Wado, my friends. That means thank you. Walk easy, and I'll see you down the trail.